There are 15.2 million college students in the U.S., and 2,300 have been arrested. That's 1/67th of 1%, and half of the ones in New York weren't even students. But we were given the false impression that these protesters are the voice of their generation, having found a cause for which they were willing to go to the tents and to the barricades. Oh, please, these kids are more violent when their team wins a championship. A Harvard youth poll proved it. They asked people 18 to 29 what issues mattered most to them, and out of 16 choices, Palestine came in 15. The vast majority just want to do what they went to college for in the first place, to experiment with being a lesbian. They couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
These days, Bill Maher sounds less like your typical liberal talk show host and more like a surprising Trump sympathizer. Hard to believe this is the same guy known for relentlessly roasting Republicans, because now, he's turning his fire on the left. But here's what's really surprising. Maher isn't just agreeing with Trump on a few things, he's going after the anti-Trump media, slamming them for their obsessive efforts to take him down. So has Maher secretly gone MAGA? Listen closely and decide for yourself.
College kids are doing that we're excusing because they don't know what they're talking about, as if a Yale education isn't better than whatever's happening for these tiki torch IT guys who are in Charlottesville.
Bill Maher isn't pulling any punches. In a recent segment, he took direct aim at the left and what he calls the woke media for staying largely silent on the rise of anti-Semitism on college campuses. While reports of death to the Jews chants at Yale remain unconfirmed, Maher pointed to alarming incidents elsewhere, like at Northeastern University, where a pro-Israel counter-protester allegedly shouted "Kill the Jews," leading to over 100 peaceful demonstrators being arrested. Maher also blasted "Death to America" chants at a rally in Dearborn, Michigan, warning that this kind of rhetoric has crossed a dangerous line. He didn't spare elite institutions either, calling out Harvard and UPenn for their tepid responses and accusing them of enabling hateful ideologies. Maher's message is clear: ignoring hate speech, regardless of who it's aimed at, is unacceptable. In a political climate where party loyalty often clouds moral judgment, Maher is challenging his own side to wake up, speak out, and take a hard stance against bigotry.
Now that the campus protesters are finally packing up their tents and delousing their hair, it's time for the media to admit that they blew the whole thing way out of proportion, because as always with media these days, they don't cover what's most important, just what's most fun to watch.
Now Maher is turning his fire on the mainstream media, and is not holding back. He's calling them out as alarmist hype machines that blow every half-serious Trump comment out of proportion. Take, for example, when Trump jokingly mentioned serving a third term. Instead of brushing it off, the media went into meltdown mode, declaring democracy dead and branding him a fascist. In Maher's view, the media has turned Trump into more than just a sharp-tongued former president. They've painted him as the nation's ultimate boogeyman. And while the headlines scream about every Trump soundbite, real issues like grocery prices, job security, and the economy barely make the cut. Maher's had enough. He's calling out the media's addiction to outrage and drama over meaningful coverage, and this time, he's not staying silent.
Super Bowl, there for the first time in I think 4 years now, the Trump administration is making them take away "end racism," which they had written in the end zone, right? And when
why? It just seems silly. I mean,
to do it or not to do it?
Why get rid of it?
Oh, I could tell you why.
I know, but it's just like you're.
Because it was stupid to begin with.
Yeah, but it's.
Let me ask you, who is it for? And if you're a racist and you see "end racism" in the end zone, you're going to stop being a racist?
But the sentiment is basically like, don't be an asshole.
But I think it's an asshole to nag us during a football game about something that doesn't change anything or any. If I'm not a racist and I see it, it doesn't matter. And if I am a racist, it's going to make me more of a racist.
Like, I think if you write "don't be an asshole" in the end zone, everybody will agree with that.
The problem is, we all think the other guy's an asshole.
No one thinks.
I saw the Government Accounting Office, that's not the Trump administration, said in the last 20 years, I think it was something like 2.2
It's $3 trillion.
Well, it was a little less than that, but in trillions of improper payments.
Yes.
This is trillions, not billions. What could we have done with that money? In 2023, it was 236 billion of improper payment. So it's not like this does not have to be.
Maher doesn't just criticize, he brings receipts. He specifically calls out networks like MSNBC and CNN for sensationalizing stories, especially when it comes to college protests over the Israel-Palestine conflict. According to their coverage, you'd think every student was out waving flags and chanting slogans. But Maher says that's simply not true. In reality, most students are more worried about finals, student loans, and paying rent than foreign policy. He argues that the media takes small, vocal groups and blows them up to look like nationwide movements, then acts shocked when the public stops paying attention. To Maher, it's part of a bigger problem: emotion over facts, spectacle over substance. And he didn't hold back, pushing back hard during a recent segment where he challenged Tara Palmieri's exaggerated claims head-on.
Super Bowl, there for the first time in I think 4 years now, the Trump administration is making them take away "end racism," which they had written in the end zone, right? And when
Why? It just seems silly. I mean,
to do it or not to do it?
why get rid of it?
Oh, I could tell you why.
I know, but it's just like you're
Because it was stupid to begin with.
yeah, but it's
Let me ask you, who is it for? And if you're a racist and you see "end racism" in the end zone, you're going to stop being a racist?
the sentiment is basically like, don't be an asshole.
But I think it's an asshole to nag us during a football game about something that doesn't change anything or any. If I'm not a racist and I see it, it doesn't matter. And if I am a racist, it's going to make me more of a racist.
Like, I think if you write "don't be an asshole" in the end zone, everybody will agree with that.
The problem is, we all think the other guy's an asshole.
Maher is taking direct aim at the left's obsession with symbolic gestures that have little real-world impact. He's been openly mocking performative activism and virtue signaling, especially when it comes from elites right in front of his left-leaning guests, live on air. One example he slammed was the NFL's "end racism" message painted in the end zones during the Super Bowl. Maher called it what it is: empty symbolism. "It looks good," he said, "but it doesn't do anything." The audience laughed, Tara Palmieri looked visibly uncomfortable, and Maher drove the point home: gestures without action are meaningless. And more people, he says, are getting tired of the noise.